Hello and welcome to your second tutorial on JQuery. Today we'll just talk about some functions and we'll discuss some elements and methods, etc. As you can see, I've already started. I have my JQuery file right here inserted. Don't forget to do that. I've made a div with the class of D1. Using CSS, I've given my D1 class some properties, so width, height and background. And then down in JQuery, I've just added in my document ready function just so my code will work at the beginning. Let's go ahead and move on. So inside of our document ready, let's go ahead and add in our $, and inside we'll add in the selector. So the selector is going to be our div, which is D1, and we're going to add click, so the action, and we're going to write another function just like this. Inside of this function, what we're going to do is we're trying to get a color change after clicking on the div. And so inside of this, we're going to write our $. We're going to write this keyword followed by the CSS JQuery method. And inside, as is just one property, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give it a background. And as it is 1, as I mentioned, I'm going to write 1 comma, and I'm going to write the color, which will be, let's say, magenta. Now let's go ahead and save, and as you can see, I already had my purple div right here. After refreshing and after clicking on the div, we see that it changes from purple to magenta due to this code right here. So next, let's go ahead and use the multiple CSS method. So if you remember, what we do is we add curly braces right here. We get rid of this comma and we turn it into a colon, and then we put a comma after our magenta. Let's say we want to change the font size. We're gonna write font size colon again. Let's put it as 3em. We forgot the quotation marks. Let me go ahead and add them. So just like this, and then we add a comma again. Let's add in color, which will be, let's say, hashtag FFF, so 3 Fs. We'll add in its quotation marks as well, like this. And now if I save this and we go ahead and refresh, when we click on our div, we get all of our CSS properties working in the div. Now let's also go ahead and add in the slide up and slide down methods to this same element, which we can easily do by just continuing this. And what we do is we add in a dot and we type in slide up and we give it its time, so let's say 2000 milliseconds. To add slide down as well, we just add in another dot and type in slide down. We'll go ahead and add its value, which in this case will write slow. And there are some other values as well, like fast and milliseconds, etc., which is set into the JQuery library. And if we go ahead and save and refresh, what we're going to see is that the slide up and slide down methods both work. So slide up and slide down immediately. And now let's go ahead and change slow with fast. Save, refresh. And we're going to see that this is what we're going to get. So the fast is just a little bit more faster than the slow value, just as it should be. So the movement of slide down basically got faster. And let's continue, and in div, let's go ahead and change text with hello. Let's go ahead and add in a button just like this. However, in button, let's go ahead and add a ID and we'll name it B1. Let's also give it text like click me. In our document ready, let's go ahead and add the next code. So inside of here, what we're going to do is we're going to write some simple code. We're going to be using our ID B1, so we have to add in a hashtag. Also add in your quotation marks, and we're going to write B1. And then we're going to use the click action once more, and we're going to open a function just like this. And so in the case of clicking B1, so the button, the code in our curly braces should work. So let's go ahead and try to make a alert for the text inside of div, which is hello, for which we need to use JQuery get method. So just inside of here, we're going to make our alert. So go ahead and type in alert. We're going to type in our $, and inside we're going to select our D1 selector, so the div. We're going to also add .text. For text, we're going to add its value brackets. And so using the get method, the text inside of our D1 div should be selected. Let's go ahead and save fresh. We see that when we click, we get our alert which says hello. So one very important part of jQuery is the possibility to manipulate the document object mode, so the DOM, and the first one was text, which sets or returns the text content of selected elements. There's also .html, so instead of writing .text, let's go ahead and type in .html. So the .html will basically set or return the content of selected elements, including HTML markup. So if we now also add an image to our div, however before that let me show you that it still does the same thing. So if I click on click me, I will still get an alert. However, if we go ahead and add a image to our div, img src equals, so go ahead and type in your source. So mine is iphone.jpg, and if I save, refresh, I'm going to get this image just like this. And let's also take hello in between h1 tags like this, and also add in width. So in the img tag, go ahead and type in width, and let's make it, let's say 100 pixels like this. Save and refresh. We'll see that both the text and the picture are using this HTML method. And also clicking on the button in our alert, we will get our code written in our notepad fully right here. However, if we change .html back with text and save, refresh, we'll see that nothing will happen with the image, and we'll just get this simple alert, and the image will just pop up down here, which is not what we need. However, as we saw, the text is working, so the size is actually bigger due to our h1 tags. Let's go ahead and continue. First of all, let me go ahead and make my height a little bit bigger like this, and I would just like to clarify that .html and .text that we just used are basically from the getter method. And now we will be talking about the setter method, which we will be doing right now. What we're going to do is inside of the value for text, I'm just going to write hello like this. And so as we see, after clicking on the button, the picture basically hides and hello pops up, which is from the set method using .text. So in fact, this is actually called set content. Before we were using the get content method, which we still are, and we're setting the content using our text or HTML, which is this. And so just so we have them right before our eyes, I'll comment on these two codes, so the get methods with text and HTML, just as a reminder, and we'll go ahead and continue. And inside of our set method and in the text value brackets, what we're going to do is we're going to add some h1 code just like this. And so if I save, refresh, and if I do anything, we'll see that the code will not work. So the actual code will pop up like this. And if we change text with HTML and we save, refresh, we're gonna see that after a click, hello will actually get bigger, so it will get its h1 size. And so if we want it to work, we just have to change it for HTML, save, refresh. Now we see that it is actually working and the text has actually gotten the h1 tags. And so let's go ahead and comment on these as well. Let's also comment on this as well, like this. Leave the b1 click function. Let's go ahead and create the next code. So we'll make a input, so its type will be text, so we just don't have to write anything. That is its default. And we're going to give it a ID and we'll name it I1. And let's try something where in the case of clicking P1 we add input value alert using get content. So if we want to get the value of input, we just have to basically type in alert, and inside we're going to type in our $, and we're going to be selecting our I1. Don't forget the quotes like me. And what we're going to type is something called .val, which is actually the value. And so what it does is it returns the value of form fields. So form fields like input. .val is from the getter method. And so let's go ahead and save. And when we save and refresh, and in the input, and we go ahead and type in something like hi, and when we click on the button, we're going to get the value of input, which is hi, into our alert box, just like this. So to move on, let's go ahead and get rid of alert, and using both of the get and set methods, let's try and select the value of input and let's get it displayed into our div. So there is a rule, and so at the start we have to write the set method first, so where it will be set. So it actually really does make sense. So where it's set first, and then we add in the get content method. So as I mentioned, we have to write the set method first. So go ahead and type in your $, and in the middle we're going to select our div, so where it will be set, which is the div, and I'm going to write .text, and then I'm going to make a bracket here. So this will be the value of, so where it's set, so in the div, what value it will take, so the value of input. Let's go ahead and save, and if I type something like hello, and if I click on my button, I will get it right here in my div. And let's say I'm writing something like JQuery, and if I click on the button, I will get it displayed in my div. So we did this using both set and get methods. So a rule to remember is that set always comes before get, just like we have right here. And so if we do something like typing h1, and let's say we type hey, and if I close my h1 tag, and so as you see I'm doing this in my input, which doesn't really make sense, and if I click on my button, I will just get it in my div, and it's not actually code, if that makes sense. It's just text right here at this moment. So if I go ahead and change text for HTML, and if I save, refresh, and if I go ahead and type in that again, my code will actually really work. And I can do this with other words. So program, click on it, I will get it in H1, and I can change the font sizes as well. H2, click on it, we see that the code actually really does work because of .html. And to move on, let's go ahead and just comment on this code as well. And we're still working inside, so what we're going to do is we're going to be using both the get and set methods together again. So the set method comes first, and let's say what we have to do is we have to get something, so program, let's say, from our div and set it into our input. So what we're going to do is we're going to type this, so our set method first, so it comes first, so it's basically the same thing the other way around, if that makes sense. And I'm going to add in my ID of my input, which is I1, and then I'm going to be using .val, which is value, so the value inside of etc. And then I'm going to add in my div ID, which is .d1, and we're going to be using .text. So in input, set the value of d1. Save and refresh. And we also need to add in our $sign right here with our bracket. Now let's go ahead and save and refresh. And as you see, if I just click on my button, I will get the word hello in my input as it is in the div. So one more time, there it is. And I can change the text inside of here to something like, how are you? Save, refresh. If I click on it, I will also get it in the input. Go ahead and comment on this. And after commenting on that code, let's go ahead and uncomment on this code. So if I go ahead and try this code one more time, and if I write hi, if I click on it, everything in my div disappears, and the value of input, which is hi, appears in my div. And so let's say our problem is to make both work at the same time. So we want both this, so how are you, with the image, with whatever we write in our inputs in the div at the same time. Instead of HTML, we're going to write append with 2 P's, which sets specified content at the end of the selected elements. And if I go ahead and save this, save, refresh, and if I type something like lol, if I click on the button, I will get lol here, so the value of input, my image, and my how are you text in the div using the append method. So if I go ahead and keep clicking, you'll see that the lols will just keep appearing. However, as we see, they've basically just popped out of the box, and so there is a solution to this. And we're going to be using CSS for this, by the way. So what we do is we just type in overflow and auto. If we go ahead and save and refresh, if I write the word lol again, if I just keep clicking, we'll see that we'll just get a scroll bar like this, and it won't pop out of the div. And so as we see, the word lol is at the bottom of the div content. And so if we want to change this, we can change append with prepend, which is the opposite, so it will be at the start. Just like this, we see it is at the top of our div. And what I can also do is I can add a BR tag to this to get them beneath each other and not right next to each other. Just like this. And so I should have done this earlier, but just so we can see our text a little bit more clearer, let me make it white. So just like this, whatever I type in, this is what will happen. And if I add a BR tag, we will get them beneath each other. So let's go ahead and move on. And let's go ahead and talk about the ATTR, which basically sets or returns attributes and values of the selected items. And so when this method is used to return the attribute value, it returns the value of the first matched element. When it is used to set attribute values, it sets one or more attributes / value pairs for the set of matched elements. And so let's go ahead and try this ATTR method. So to start off, for example, let's just go ahead and type in a title. So let's give it a title, our image, add in the title attribute. Inside, let's go ahead and type in something like iPhone is revolutionary. Save, refresh. We see that it works. It's being displayed on our web page. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and give title attribute value alert in our. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in img in the selector, which means that we're working with the image, and we're going to add in attr, which means the attributes. And as you see, we have many attributes for our img tag, so width, title, and source. So we're talking about getting the value of title, so we're going to type in title, and we also need to add in our alerts. So put it here, and let's put something here as a bracket here as well. Now save, refresh, and if I click, I will get my title attributes value in my alert, which is iPhone is revolutionary. And instead of title, we can type in width, which is also an attribute of img, so image. Save, refresh, and after clicking we'll get 100 pixels, just as we have it set right here. So this was the get method of the attr method, basically. Let me go ahead and duplicate this, and let's talk about the set method as well. And what we can do is just after width we can put a comma, and we can write the value of which we want the actual width value to be replaced with. So if I write 150, and if I save and refresh, after clicking we see that our image gets a little bit bigger, so to 150 pixels. Let me also go ahead and make my div a little bit bigger as well, like this. If I click on it, it will get a little bit bigger, but so by 50 pixels. So let's say we want to get something after our div. So what we have to do is we have to select our div, which is d1, which we put right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to type in after, which is using our set method. And I'm going to insert another image right here, img src equals, and let's say lion.png. It can be any picture, it doesn't really matter. And I'm also going to give its width, let's make it 300. I'll close the img tag, and I'll also add in a br tag right here. Now let's go ahead and save, refresh, and after clicking we're going to get our lion right here with its text. So what we've done here is we've added our selector, which is d1, and after d1, so after this div, we want the image of lion png placed with the width of 300 pixels, and we want just a space after it, and we have text after the space, which is in h1 tags, which says lion. Let's go ahead and save, and let's go ahead and click on the button, and we'll get our picture of our lion with the text. And we can do the reversed version as well, which is putting before instead of after. Save, and if I click on my button, I will get it up here instead of below div as it is before. And so yeah, that was all that I had prepared for today. Thank you so much for watching.